In alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. As I was saying before I started the actual lecture, Ramadan is over, but the great test is now ahead of us to see if we can maintain that righteousness, that closeness with Allah, that fear of His punishment, that consciousness of Him. If we can maintain it through the rest of the year into the next Ramadan. So when next Ramadan comes, we can sit down and take a good long look at ourselves and see if we actually met those long-term goals you set. Remember, you set long-term goals and also our short-term goals. And then we can decide how to grow even more as a human being and as a Muslim, and all that. And since Ramadan's over, what I like to talk about for the next week is how to attain happiness as a Muslim. Happiness in this world. Because that's what it's all about. That's the test. We're living here on earth. Allah has promised us gardens with rivers flowing underneath. A place where there is no pain, no suffering, no want. A place where you don't have to ever worry about anyone trying to hurt you or harm you. A place filled with nothing but love, compassion, and understanding. This is the reward for those of us who do maintain that sense of righteousness until the next, until we die. Okay, actually. But that promise is so pleasant. But it's hard to stay focused on it because it's more like a dream, especially as we live our daily lives here in this world. We're surrounded by so much corruption. We're surrounded by so many trials. We're surrounded by so much unpleasantries. It's hard, to think about those beautiful gardens and that place where no pain and suffering exists. So we become lost, many of us, in this world, the life of this world, looking for happiness here, looking for a sense of belonging here, looking for something that will satisfy us until we can cross over into that other world. And this is how we lose a lot of people's souls. This is how a lot of people's souls are lost to the hellfire, as they go about looking to attain happiness in this world. So what I'm going to focus on for the next week is what happiness really is. And can I actually find it in this world as a Muslim? And what are the sources of happiness? Those are the topics we're going to go into over the next week. And so today, let's get started with this. First, let's start off, and I want you guys to pay attention because all this is going to be on the quiz tomorrow. One of the things that I am constantly emphasizing to you guys is that a lot of Muslims don't understand the religion because they don't understand the meaning of simple words in their own language. So, to talk about happiness, let's first of all look up the meaning of the word happiness. What does it mean to be happy? Well, according to Webster's dictionary, you can go to dictionary.com. Happiness is a state of well-being that is characterized by relative permanence, by dominantly being agreeable to the things around you, finding joy, finding contentment in the things around you, your living style, and all of that. That's what happiness is. It's a state of well-being. I agree with what's around me. I like what's around me. I find joy in what's around me. So now I'm happy. Okay? And what are other words that bear the same meaning? Okay? Happiness, another synonym for happiness is blessedness. You know, you hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm blessed. How are you, Laila? I'm blessed. What does that mean? When a person say I'm blessed, they're saying that I'm content. I found contentment. I found joy in what I am experiencing in my life or in what's surrounding me. That's what to be blessed means. I'm content with what I have. I'm content with my living condition. I'm content with my state of well-being. Everybody understand what happiness means, what blessedness means. I'm content with where I am in life. And also another synonym for happiness is bliss. Now, bliss is something that is so hard to attain. Because bliss is the highest form of happiness. Whereas you are content to the point where you just run, like you see the commercials of a person running through a field of daisies smiling. That's bliss. There's nothing that can pain you, nothing that can distress you. You're just living in nothing but pure contentment to the point that you just walk through the daisies smiling. That's bliss. Very few people experience that. And I can tell you, if you are a true believer, if you are a true believing Muslim, you're never going to experience bliss in this world. You may experience happiness. You may experience contentment, blessedness. Blessedness is also, what leads to acceptance of Allah, because you're accepting His decree. I'm blessed. I'm content with my living conditions, my living status, and all that. It's all part of Allah's qadr. I'm blessed. Because life could be worse. Blessedness is a higher form of happiness, because it brings you into acceptance of Allah's decree. But bliss is higher than all of that. And a true believing Muslim will never, ever, ever experience bliss in this world. We will only have bliss when we enter into paradise. Why? It's not hard to figure out, because remember, life was meant to be a test for us. We may experience a moment of bliss, but it's short-lived. Remember, what is the meaning of happiness? Remember, it's a state of well-being characterized by permanence. Permanence. This is why we can never have true bliss or true happiness in this world. Because nothing in this world is permanent. This world is constantly changing. People live, people die, people grow old, people are young. You go from baby, infant, child till old age. So nothing is permanent here. So we will never experience pure bliss. Only paradise is permanent. So that's why I say that the true believing Muslim who understands what his purpose in life is, understands that he'll never reach a state of pure bliss until he crosses that Sirat bridge into paradise. Okay? So that's basically what happiness is. It's a state of being, of well-being. You can make yourself happy, or you can make yourself unhappy, depending on how you look at and accept your surroundings and your conditions. Okay? So that brings us to the next question that many people ask. And this is how we lose people to the hellfire. What are the sources of happiness? What is it in this world that can bring about happiness for me in my life? Well, different people may have different ideas in regards to what brings happiness or contentment to them. But basically, guys, in general, there are 4 categories that many people associate as bringing happiness to them. And what are those categories? The first one is wealth, money. How many of you have heard people say, if only I was rich? If I were a rich man. Remember that song? I'd buy a house here, buy a car there, do this there. A lot of people say it. If I had money, if only I were rich, I'd be happy. I'd be the happiest person in the world if I had money. So a lot of people, and a lot of Muslims, I know how many of you know Muslims that way. They are miserable and unhappy because they think they're poor. Oh, if I made the money she made, I'd be happy. If my retirement check was like hers, I'd be happy. You know, how many of you know people like that? Everything, their whole existence centers around money. They think with it, they would be happy. Without it, they're nothing. So that's the first number one thought that many people have brings about happiness, money. The second is rank and position. How many of you know people who say, if only I was the president of the United States? If I was the president of the United States, I'd be the most powerful person in the world, and I would be happy because I would be able to do this and end the war and bring about this and all that. Or if only I was the CEO of this company. So a lot of people think that the source of happiness or the way to happiness in this life is through rank, power, position. So that's the second category. And then the third category that people think brings about happiness is educational. How many of you, I went through this one. When I was young, graduated from high school, I went to college. I said, when I get my college degree, you won't be able to tell me nothing. I'll be the happiest person in the world. I'll have that degree. I'll be able to do this. I'll be able to do that. Oh, I'll be so happy. And then when you go through all that pain and suffering with those exams, 4 years of classes, they hand you this little piece of paper, and you look at it and you say, what? I went through all that blood, sweat, and tears just for this little piece of paper that doesn't even say what my degree is in. It's just a Bachelor of Arts. It doesn't even say a Bachelor of Arts in history or in this. It's just a Bachelor of Arts. You're like, what the heck is this? And then you find out you can't even do anything with it. It's hard to even find a job nowadays. So you find out that was not your source. So again, but a lot of people believe it is. They think, oh, if only I had a degree, I'd be happy. And then the fourth source that many people associate to happiness is fame. How many of you hear that? Oh, if I was famous, I want to be a famous scholar. This is what the Muslims want. I want to be a scholar. I want to be on YouTube giving lectures. I want people to invite me to their countries, to their mosques. If only I had that fame, I'd be the happiest Muslim on earth. In fact, I'd be a good Muslim if Allah made me famous. And then they get famous. And they realize it's nothing. Or fame through sports. Fame through politics. Anything. So these are the 4 categories that many people today associate as categories which will bring about happiness in this life. Money, power, educational achievement, or fame. And what we're going to do is explore all 4 of these categories over the next week. And we're going to see, do these 4 categories actually bring about happiness in this world? And we're going to start today with the first category, money. Hello, look at the PowerPoint there. This man has all the money in the world. Is he happy? Will that make him happy for the rest of his life because he's one of the richest men in the world? Well, let's explore this. Again, wealth is probably, the number one source that many believe to happiness. And many people, as you guys know, wish for it, long for it, pray for it. You got a lot of Muslims who I know personally who are so jealous and envious of others who they think have money that they can't even enjoy their own personal life because they're too busy looking at somebody else's life, wishing it was theirs. So does money actually bring about wealth? Well, Allah gives us examples in the Quran of the things that can stand in the way between our relationship with Him. And Allah speaks about money, people who long for money. And Allah warns us in the Quran about thinking that money is everything and it'll bring you happiness in this world and the next. For example, Allah gives us the story of Qarun. Okay, he was the Pharaoh of Egypt. Allah had blessed him with all the riches, all the strength and all of that. He was a very wealthy man. Did that wealth bring about happiness to him? Well, listen to what Allah says about him in the interpretation of the meaning. Such were the treasure that we bestowed upon Qarun, that their very keys would have been a burden to a body of strong men. Behold, his people said to him, do not think yourself to be so high, because Allah does not love those who think themselves high in regards to their riches. But he went about his people in pride and arrogance. And as everybody knows, he was a very terrible oppressor. He oppressed his people. Instead of him helping the people and being kind and good as a ruler, he became very oppressive to the people, enslaving people, hurting people, destroying people. Okay? In fact, he began to view himself as a god. He had temples built honoring himself, statues made of himself, appearing to be a god. That's what money does to a lot of people. Instead of it humbling them, it makes them more arrogant, and it makes them more oppressive towards others. So what happened to Qarun with all his riches? What was the end result for him? Well, Allah tells us in the Quran, in the interpretation of the meaning, we caused the earth to swallow him up and his house, and he had not the least little party to help him against us, nor could he defend himself against the wrath of Allah. So Allah caused an earthquake to occur in Egypt, destroyed him, his home, all his riches. All his riches. Okay, so again, is money the key to happiness? Will it bring about happiness? Let's look at some modern day cases. Everybody remembers Christina Onassis. She was the daughter of one of the richest men in the world. Her father was Aristotle Onassis. Okay? And when her father died, she was the only heir to all his billions and billions of dollars. Okay? She married an American guy. A few months later, they ended up divorced. She married a guy from her country, a Greek guy. Again, after a few months, she ended up divorced. Again, with all the money that she had in the world, all she wanted was happiness, to be loved by a man. That's all she wanted. She wanted someone to love her for who she was and not for what she had, the billions that she had. She married a fourth husband. That marriage didn't even last 2 years. In fact, they interviewed her for Life magazine, and they asked her whether she was the richest woman in the world and what it felt like to be the richest woman in the world. She said, yes, I may be the richest woman in the world. She said, but I am the most unhappiest woman. And that's when she told them, all I want is someone to love me and accept me for me, not for what I have. She spent the rest of her life, guys, looking for acceptance and love. One day they found her dead and alone inside a hotel room in Argentina. Who killed her? Nobody. She killed herself. She committed suicide. All because, and she left behind a note. She left behind a suicide note saying that all I ever wanted was the one thing that money can't give you or can't buy for you, and that is love. Subhanallah. And again, richest woman in the world. And to bring you up to modern times, look who just died a couple of weeks ago. Another woman of wealth, Kate Spade. It's in the news right now as we speak. They're talking about Kate Spade now. Many of you, including myself, probably have some of her handbags. Yes, she's a famous designer. Famous rich designer. Catherine Brosnahan. Kate Spade. She was an American fashion designer and businesswoman. In fact, she was the founder and the former co-owner of the designer brand called Kate Spade of New York. Those are pictures of her bags. Some of you probably have some of hers. I got two of her bags. Spade married Andy Spade. Y'all probably know him too. He's the brother of the famous actor David Spade. And she had one child. This woman was very wealthy. She won many awards. She was named the best accessory designer of the year. Okay? Her home collection won her 3 design awards in 2004, including House Beautiful's Giants of Design Award for Tastemaker. Bon Appetit's American Food and Entertaining Award for Designer of the Year. She also won Elle Decor's International Design Award for bedding. She was a famous designer of handbags, bedding, all this stuff. In 2017, which was just last year, she was inducted into the Entrepreneur Hall of Fame at the Henry Block School of Management at the University of Missouri in Kansas City. And also last year in 2017, she was named one of the most creative people in business. That's Kate Spade. So she was very, very wealthy, very, very rich. But guess what happened to her last month on June 5th? In fact, that was this month, just 2 weeks ago. On June 5th, a housekeeper found her dead in her Manhattan apartment. Her death was ruled a suicide. She hung herself. And there's a picture of her with David Spade. Y'all know him, the famous funny comedian, Joe Dirt. Y'all see Joe Dirt. And there's her husband, his brother. That's her brother standing with her. And that's one of her bags. Y'all see them designer bags that a lot of us women carry? That's Kate Spade. The day that they found her dead, Andy Spade released a statement saying that she suffered. Despite her fame, despite her accomplishments in life, Kate Spade suffered with depression and anxiety for years. So here you can see, here's a woman that had it all. She had not only the wealth, she had the fame, popularity, and everything. Look at her, she was pretty. Kate Spade was a good-looking woman too, y'all know that. She used to do some modeling too. She had all that going for her, but still, She never found happiness to the point where she took her own life. So thus, what do we learn here? Well, the lesson is clear. Money does not bring about happiness. Instead, it seems the more money you have, the more of a test it is for you. Remember, when Allah gives you something, He's entrusting you to help others and do other things that are good with it. It's a test. Money is a test, guys. And if you fail the test, it can bring nothing but misery to you, as it did to Kate Spade, as it did to Onassis, and as it did to even Qarun. So if true happiness is not in money, then where does it come from? Well, I want you guys to join here tomorrow. Tomorrow, what we're going to do is investigate another category, another one of those 4 categories that many people think is the source of happiness. And we'll see if maybe that's the source. But the lesson here is clear. Never sit around wishing to be rich. Because to wish for richness, you're wishing for Allah to increase your test in life. And if you don't take advantage of that money the right way by helping others and giving in the way of Allah, that money will bring about your downfall. Okay? All right, so we'll stop right here for today. Tomorrow we'll continue by speaking about another category that many people believe is a source of happiness. So if you have any questions or comments, inshallah, you can type it on screen.